Jeff Bezos' biggest financial regrets. Hey guys, today we're going to talk about Jeff Bezos' biggest financial regrets. Let's get right into it. What you don't do will haunt you when you're old and looking back on your life, not what you do and mess up. So says Jeff Bezos, former CEO of Amazon and Blue Origin. Bezos said in an interview with Axel Springer CEO Matthias Dopfner, published by Business Insider, "When you think about the things that you will regret when you're 80, they're almost always the things that you did not do. They're acts of omission. Very rarely are you going to regret something that you did, that failed, and didn't work or whatever. It is true not only of professional decisions, but also life, according to the 58-year-old entrepreneur, who is currently valued at $117.5 billion by Forbes." Bezos said, "I'm not just talking about business things." He then added, "It's like, I love that person and I never told them. And 50 years later you're like, why didn't I tell her? Why didn't I go after it?" He then said, "So that's the kind of life regret that is very hard to be happy about when you're telling yourself in a private moment the story of your life." Bezos is the personification of that willingness to act. He famously left a Wall Street investment banking career to launch a small website called Amazon to sell books online. In retrospect, it was a wise decision. However, at the time, Bezos and his wife Mackenzie were taking a risk that not everyone agreed with. Bezos also recalled in a commencement speech he gave at his alma mater, Princeton, in 2010, "I was working at a financial firm in New York City with a bunch of very smart people, and I had a brilliant boss that I much admired." He then added, "I went to my boss and told him I wanted to start a company selling books on the internet. He took me on a long walk in Central Park, listened carefully to me, and finally said, 'That sounds like a really good idea, but it would be an even better idea for someone who didn't already have a job.'" Bezos deliberated carefully before making his decision. He said in his speech, "That logic made some sense to me, and he convinced me to think about it for 48 hours before making a final decision. Seen in that light, it really was a difficult choice, but ultimately, I decided I had to give it a shot." He explained, "I didn't think I'd regret trying and failing, and I suspected I would always be haunted by a decision to not try at all. So he took the less safe path to follow my passion, and I'm proud of that choice," he said. Aside from that mindset, Bezos claims that having supportive and loving people in his life inspired him to take risks. Bezos said in his interview with Dopfner, "Mackenzie, she married this stable guy working on Wall Street, and a year after we got married, I went to her and said I wanted to quit my job, move across the country, and start this internet bookstore. And Mackenzie, of course, like everybody I explained this to, her first question was, 'What's the internet?' Because nobody knew. This was 1994. He then added, "But even before she could say what's the internet, she said, 'Great, let's go.' Because she wanted to support it, and she knew that I had always had this passion for invention and starting a company," says Bezos. In addition to his wife, Bezos credits his parents and grandfather as major influences in his life, giving him strength. He said in his tweet, "I won the lottery with my mom. Thanks for literally everything, Mom." He also said in one interview, "My mom had me when she was 17 years old, and she was still in high school in Albuquerque, New Mexico, and this is in 1964. I can assure you that being a pregnant teenager in high school was not cool in Albuquerque, New Mexico at that time, and so it was very difficult for her." He then added, "My grandfather went to bat for her, and then they tried to kick her out of school, and they're incredible. So the gift I had was that I had this incredible family." Feeling supported and loved afforded him the confidence to take bold actions, Bezos says. He said, "When you have loving and supportive people in your life, like Mackenzie, my parents, my grandfather, my grandmother, you end up being able to take risks." He then added, "Because I think it's one of those things, you kind of know that somebody's got your back, and so if you're thinking about it logically, it's an emotional thing." He also said that you should take a risk every once in a while. When Amazon's founder and CEO was in college, he promised himself that one day he would start and run his own company. At the age of 30, Bezos decided to quit his job in order to pursue his dream. During a fireside chat with brother Mark Bezos at the 10th Annual Summit LA Conference, he admitted that his decision took a lot of soul-searching. He went on to say that the best way to make such a very personal decision is to ask yourself, what does your heart say? For Bezos, that meant living a life without regrets, especially in old age. He said, "I don't want to be 80 years old and in a quiet moment of reflection, thinking back over my life and cataloging a bunch of major regrets." Bezos stated in The Everything Store that he knew he would never think about why he turned down his 1994 Wall Street bonus in his old age. Why? Because that won't matter nearly as much in 50 years. Bezos said, "It would be a 100% chance of regret if I didn't try, and basically a 0% chance of regret if I tried and failed." Bezos then added, "So I think that's a useful metric for any important life decision." That's all for today, and we'll be sure to catch you all in the next one.